He covers the NHL. He's on Sirius NHL Radio, Sirius XM Canada. Terry, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing good. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a big hockey guy. My co-host Adam Blake is a huge hockey fan. So we're going to start. One of the things we've been talking about tonight, the biggest thing we've been talking about is we read an article yesterday about NHL guys and going from being stars to basically who would be a good TV analyst. And I made the joke, would you put Ovechkin on TV or would you put him on as saying a face of radio?
Neither.
You wouldn't let Ovechkin be.
I don't think he'd be good at either.
Yo, you really don't think he'd be able to analyze the game?
No, I'll be quite frank with you. It's interesting. You guys know how a lot of times people say people like catchers in baseball, centers in football, the guys who have to think the game, the guys who have to analyze it are usually the best color guys in sports coverage. In the case of hockey, goaltenders.
So you agree with that, goaltenders?
Absolutely. Goaltenders, they have to analyze the game. They get to see it as right from the other end until it comes right down to see them. They get to observe it. They get to watch how everybody interacts with teammates and how the opposition interacts in particular situations. I find goaltenders make absolutely the best analysts when it comes to talking about explaining the game and that type of thing to people.
I couldn't agree more with you. That's why I said to Adam was goaltenders. He went with defensemen. That was his next guess.
Defenseman would be my second choice. Absolutely, defenseman would be my second choice.
What goalie right now would you think would be the best analyst?
Marty Brodeur. I think Marty Brodeur could break the game down for you. The guy's been around for 20 seasons. He's been an outstanding goaltender for 20 seasons. You ever listen to him talk when he's being interviewed? He's articulate. He's thoughtful. He breaks the game down. I think Marty Brodeur would be absolutely an outstanding analyst. Right now, you watch Hockey Night in Canada, you see former NHL goaltenders, guys like Kevin Weeks and guys like that breaking the game down for you. These are the guys to me that simply they're articulate and they understand the non-instinctive approach to the game. They understand the thinking man's approach to the hockey game.
How much longer do you think Marty Brodeur has left in him?
This year. That's it. Seriously. I'm seeing goals being scored on Marty Brodeur that 5 years ago wouldn't have stood a chance of going in the net. And I'm watching some of these goals and I'm just thinking, you know what? And did you notice that there was no problem when they traded for Corey Schneider? Marty Brodeur had no problem with that whatsoever. And he even spoke early on in the season about how, you know what, I think I've lost my number one job in New Jersey. I think Marty's ready to call it a career. There's nothing else left for the guy to accomplish. He's going into the Hall of Fame first ballot. I think Marty's in his own mind is like, you know what, I'm getting ready to hang it up.
We're talking with Terry Mercury, producer, reporter for Sirius XM Canada. All right, we'll start here in Carolina. 7 years since they've won their only cup, 4 years since they've been in the playoffs. They're 8-10-4 in the season. Right now, what would you say the expectations are for this team as a fan or as a media guy looking in?
You can't lose early in the season as big a cog machine as Cam Ward, your goaltender, is, and not expect to suffer. The people in Carolina who are saying like, oh, are we going to have to trade? No, you know what? You just have to get healthy. That's all. Cam Ward's going to get healthy. Do you really think for 1 minute that both the Stahl brothers are going to be this slow for the entire season? Not going to happen. They're going to heat up. They're going to get going. The only place that I would say Carolina fans, don't place your bets on this guy being a consistent contributor as Alex Semin. When you guys picked him up in the trade from Washington, I was one of those guys that said they're going to be sorry they got him because they're thinking they're going to get a star, and this guy on nights when he feels like it is unbelievable. But there's not enough of those nights, especially for a team like Carolina. They're going to need consistent production from him. They're not going to get it. But frankly, you guys have got enough good talent down there. I mean, come on, Jeff Skinner. Heck, your backup goaltender. 3/4 of the teams in the National Hockey League would be interested in getting Justin Peters, for heaven's sakes. So, I mean, you guys have too much talent down there to worry about, we got off to a lousy start. Yeah, you did. You got injured. There were some injuries in the early part of the season. Skinner missed a couple of games because of injury. guys, when you're healthy, you guys are going to be right in there for the fight for a playoff spot. You're going to be right in the middle of it.
You mentioned the talent we have, and then you mentioned the Stahl brothers also. Eric and Jordan both play here in Carolina. Of the three Stahl brothers, Eric, Jordan, Mark, how many of them make the Canadian Olympic team?
Ooh, good question. I can't see Mark Stahl making it. I think Canada's defense is just too deep. He's not good enough to crack the top 8. I can't see him making it. I think I see Eric making it, and that's it. I think of the three Stahl brothers, Eric is the one Stahl brother that makes Team Canada. I can't see Jordan, and I can't see Mark.
All right, the Hurricanes recalled Elias Lindholm today. He had 1 goal, 1 assist in his first 10 NHL games while he was playing for the Carolina Hurricanes. He got sent back down. He had 6 games. He had 1 goal and 2 assists. Now that he's back in Carolina on his team, what should they expect out of him?
He's a depth player right now. They're just simply looking to get, they're looking to be able to roll out 4 lines who aren't going to hurt them. They can expect good solid two-way play from him. Maybe the odd bit of offense. He's not a huge offensive upside, but he'll be okay. I think this is simply a depth call-up, and it's not the wrong thing to do. Right now, you need to have a good deep team. While your team overcomes a poor early start. But for all the for all the bad early start that your team has, you're close to 500. So, it's not like you've already dropped out of the race for a playoff spot. So, I hear people in Carolina, I hear people in Raleigh getting all panicky and everything. What are you panicking for? It's early. You're going through the rough part of the season. You're going through injuries. There's all kinds of time. It ain't 48 games this year. It's 82. You've got all kinds of time to turn it around.
How has the Steven Stamkos injury affected the Lightning this year?
Oh, God. Holy mackerel. Are you kidding? I guarantee you, Marty St. Louis, there's not a quitter's bone in Marty St. Louis' body. But I promise you, there are going to be nights with this hockey team when they lose 3-2, 2-1, 4-2. They're going to be thinking, if Stammer was here, there's a couple of possible goals. There's an improvement on the power play, that whole type of thing. Yeah, Steven Stamkos is going to hurt that team. I can't see. I think even healthy, I really couldn't see the Tampa Bay Lightning making the playoffs. But with Stamkos out for however long, whether it's the entire season or whether it's 3/4 of the season, that team is just life and death to be 500, and 500 won't cut it as far as making the playoffs go in the East.
Do you think it's a bigger loss for Team Canada or the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Well, it's a big loss for Team Canada, but you're talking about Tampa Bay Lightning. You're talking about a team that isn't a terribly deep hockey team. They count a lot on Stamkos for goals 5-on-5 and on the power play. Team Canada, well, of course they'd rather have Steven Stamkos on the team. When you look at the possibilities for forwards for Team Canada, they can overcome the loss of a Steven Stamkos. There's enough talent there that they'll miss him, but they can replace him. That's just, when you're talking about Team Canada, you're talking about the best from everywhere. Whereas with the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's the best of what they've got. And without Steve Stamkos, that's a huge chunk of what they had that they won't be able to.
You've been in more locker rooms than we have, obviously. What happens in the atmosphere in the locker room, the morale, basically, when you lose a guy like Stamkos?
You know what? It's a fool's paradise. Everybody looks at each other, and for the benefit of the media and the fans, you hear, we've lost Stammer, but that's just going to mean someone else is going to have the opportunity to step up and maybe surprise us and make a place on this team. And there's a lot of brave talk and everything, but they're not stupid. The coaching staff, the players, especially the veteran players, they're not stupid. They know. It's like, are you kidding? We've just lost one of the best players in the world. This is going to hurt, and this is going to hurt big time. And the longer he's out, the longer it's going to hurt, because we keep falling farther and farther. We're going to start losing games that we might have won if he had been in the lineup, and it starts to kill the dressing room. What happens is that after a while, after you've lost 2 or 3 games, 2-1, 3-2, that type of thing, and you're sitting in that dressing room after you've lost 4 or 5 in a row, and you're sitting in the dressing room, and it's like, geez, if Stammer was here, a couple of goals from him might have made the difference in a couple of those games, and it just gets you down. You try to battle back. You try not to let yourself get down. You try to keep your head up, but no, you recognize that there's games that you lose, important games that you might not have lost if Stamkos had been there.
We're talking with Terry Mercury here on Sports on Tap, producer and reporter for Sirius XM Canada.
Marc-Andre Fleury has struggled with the playoffs the last couple of years, really since 2009, since they won the Stanley Cup. Do you think he's back, or do we have to wait until the playoffs?
I am totally not sold on the idea that Marc-Andre Fleury is back. I'm not sold at all, simply because, you know, Mark, he has a history of, he'll get these streaks where he'll put together 3 or 4 great games and they fall down for like 3 or 4. I'm not buying that he's back at all. I don't buy it yet, and I don't think the people with Team Canada are going to buy it either. I'll be amazed if Marc-Andre Fleury is anywhere near Team Canada when the final decisions are made as for that team. I'd be amazed if Marc-Andre Fleury was there. I don't buy that for a second, and I'll tell you something. If Marc-Andre Fleury is there and Cam Ward is not, then I'm going to be looking and thinking, like, are you crazy? Come on, you know, there's just no way. There's no way. I think even at the best, at the top of his game, Marc-Andre Fleury is not a better goaltender than Cam Ward. There's no way. I think Cam should be. To me, he's the guy. You know, Cam Ward, Carey Price, and probably Corey Crawford for the Chicago Blackhawks. To me, I mean, there's your goaltenders. Possibly Roberto Luongo out of Vancouver, but Cam Ward should be closer to Team Canada. I don't care if he's played that fewer games this season than Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't buy Marc-Andre for a second. Not for a second.
So who do you think is going to win the Olympics this year or next year?
You know what? For the first time, I think that we've been watching for a long time, I think you're going to see a very emotional, very driven, very intense Russian hockey team. I think the fact that it's the first time the Olympics are in Russia, you got so many Russian stars, so many good, solid star players. I think that Russian team is going to be driven. I think they're going to be emotional. I think they're going to be extremely intense. I think they're going to be very, very, very dangerous on their own home ground, especially playing in international-sized rinks. I think that's going to be a very dangerous hockey team. I think that when you have the type of goaltending that Team USA can get, when you have the number of goaltenders, high-quality goaltenders, that especially in a tournament situation, you got to be careful about the Americans because goaltending can steal you tournaments. So, I mean, I look at the possibilities for the U.S. between the pipes, and some pretty good players up front too. I think people better not ignore the Americans. Be very, very wary about them. I think because things are going to be so intense with Canada, the United States, and Russia, when things get really intense, I find that the Swedes, oftentimes, they can't keep going with that kind of intensity. They might be able to these Olympics, but they'd be the team that I would pick as the team that might disappoint a lot of people. But just right now, the way I'm looking at it, I'm probably thinking Russia, I'm probably looking at the United States, I'm probably looking at Canada, and if we're thinking about a dark horse, it would probably be Finland.
The debate we have on the show a lot is, and I'm on the one side that I think in the NHL there's a lot of shootouts. A lot of games end in a shootout. Adam Blake doesn't think so. What's your opinion on the shootout in hockey? Is there too much of games ending in the shootout?
I would do away with the shootout. I would do away with it completely. To me, I would go overtime 4-on-4, give it 10 minutes, not 5 minutes, 10 minutes of 4-on-4. Then after 10 minutes, 5 more minutes of 3-on-3. And I bet you 5-1, you would always have a victor at that point. I think you would always have a victor if you went to 4-on-4 for 10 minutes and then 3-on-3 for another 5 or 10 minutes again if you want. You would get goals scored in those 2 overtime periods, and you wouldn't need the shootout. I would like to see the shootout gone. I would like to see the shootout gone in international hockey. I think a team winning the gold medal as a result of a shootout in the Olympics or the World Hockey Championships is ridiculous.
I'm telling you, I'm a sometimes fan, and I agree with you. If you did the whole 5-on-5 and then the 3-on-3, I would be down with that. I would watch hockey way more. Before we get...
I always ask hockey fans, when you see a 4-on-4, is that not some of the best hockey of the night?
Yeah, that's definitely cool to watch. That would move me to... I would move the NHL in front of the NBA for me if that happened.
Yep.
I don't know
about that for me, but.
Oh, are you a bigger NBA fan than the NHL?
Oh, love! Are you kidding? Hoops, baby, all the way. Love the NHL. Don't get me wrong, love the NHL, but I love my NBA. Love it.
maybe they'll get a real team up there one day and try.
Hey, we're doing okay. I know it's a really crappy Atlantic division. I get that, and everybody's under 500. But as of today, my Raptors are the top of the Atlantic division. I'll take it, considering where we've been over the past 5 seasons. Even 5 days at the top of the division, I'll take it.
Last thing we do before we let every guest get out of here is we ask you for last call, basically a shout out to something in the world of sports. It doesn't have to be sports related, but we'd prefer it be. What's your last call before you get out of here?
My shout out is I'm just praying. Can somebody please? The Yankees won't do it, but I wish they would get the backbone enough to tell A-Rod, take a hike. Get lost. Take your stinking money. We'll pay you whatever we need to pay you to get lost. And A-Rod, get lost.
Awesome stuff. I couldn't agree more with you. Being a diehard Yankee fan, I hate A-Rod. Terry Mercury, producer, reporter for Sirius XM Canada. Yeah, he needs to get out of there. Terry, hope we catch up to you maybe close to the NHL playoffs. We'll hit you up again, okay?
Anytime, guys. Give me a shout. No problem.